The cold wind whipped through the empty streets of Cleveland, Ohio, rattling the loose metal of a bus shelter where a small ginger cat pressed itself against the glass, trembling. Its thin body shook not just from the chill, but from the weight of being left behind, a plastic grocery bag beside it holding nothing but an empty food tin. Cars rushed past without slowing. No one noticed, until one man did. His name was Aaron Blake, tall, broad-shouldered, with tired eyes that carried the marks of someone who'd seen too much loss. Aaron stopped in his tracks, sensing something fragile in that shadow of orange fur. The cat's eyes, wide and glimmering with a mix of fear and defiance, locked on his every move. The air smelled of wet asphalt, thick with the promise of rain. Inside Aaron's chest, something pulled tighter with every second he stood there. The traffic lights flickered from green to red, and still he couldn't move forward. The decision hung heavy in the night. He crouched slowly, boots scraping the concrete, careful not to startle the creature. A bus roared past, its brakes screeching, and the cat bolted sideways with a startled cry, pressing itself flat against the shelter's corner. Aaron's breath caught. For a moment, he felt the instinctive pull to back away, to leave it, to convince himself it wasn't his responsibility. Yet the sight of its tiny ribs pushing through matted fur anchored him in place. The sound of raindrops began tapping the roof of the shelter. Each drop seemed louder, echoing in the silence between them. Aaron extended a hand, palm down, fingers trembling slightly, as if he feared rejection from this fragile being. The cat's ears twitched. Its tail lashed once, then stilled. He could see a cut above its right paw, faint but raw, as if it had scraped desperately at pavement in search of escape. That wound struck something deep inside him. Just as Aaron's hand inched closer, headlights swept across the shelter, casting sharp beams of light.
The cat flinched and hissed, leaping back toward the shadows. Aaron's pulse surged. He had seconds before the storm broke and before the animal vanished into the maze of alleys beyond. His voice, low and rough, broke the silence. "Easy now. I'm not here to hurt you." A crack of thunder rolled across the sky, and with it, the cat bolted from the shelter. Aaron's heart clenched as he lunged to follow. His boots splashed into the growing puddles, his breath coming in sharp bursts of steam. The street stretched ahead, slick and reflective, the ginger blur weaving between trash bins and broken fences. The chase had begun, not of possession, but of mercy. Every corner turned revealed fresh danger, broken glass glittering on the ground, a loose dog barking from behind a fence, shadows swallowing the cat whole. Aaron's focus sharpened with a hunter's intensity, though his prey was not to be captured, but saved. His lungs burned, his body heavy, yet he pressed forward. The image of that frail body left behind at the bus stop pushed him harder than pain ever could. When he finally rounded the last corner, he found the cat crouched under a rusted staircase, panting, its fur spiked with rain. It met his gaze again, this time not with rage, but with something far more dangerous: hesitation. Aaron froze, water streaming down his face, and whispered into the storm, "I'm not leaving you here." The cat's ears flattened, but its eyes lingered on him, as if testing the truth of those words. The night had shifted. It was no longer about a man who stumbled on an abandoned cat. It was about whether two broken souls could trust one another long enough to survive the storm. The storm pounded harder against the city, rain sliding in sheets off the corrugated metal above the staircase. Aaron's jacket clung to his body, heavy with water, but he barely noticed. His focus was locked on the ginger shape crouched beneath the iron steps.
The cat's breath came in quick bursts, the steam of its tiny lungs fogging in the cold air. Aaron lowered himself to the ground, knees sinking into the flooded concrete, as if leveling himself might ease the creature's fear. The cat shifted its weight, paws pressing nervously into the muddy ground. Its injured paw left a faint smear of blood against the wet cement. Aaron's chest tightened at the sight. He reached slowly into his pocket, fingers closing around the only thing he had, a granola bar wrapped in crinkling plastic. It wasn't cat food, but it was something. He tore it open carefully, the scent of oats and honey cutting through the sharp metallic air of the rain. The sound of the wrapper startled the cat. It flattened itself lower, ears pressed back, eyes flashing like lanterns in the dark. For a moment, Aaron feared he had ruined everything. He laid the piece gently on the ground, sliding it forward with 2 fingers. The tiny shape didn't move. Then, a faint sniff, hesitant, mistrustful. The cat inched forward, so slow the world itself seemed to hold its breath. Its whiskers brushed the wet crumbs. Just then, a loud bang split the night. A garbage can toppled down the alley, scattering bottles and cans with a crash. The cat bolted back under the stairs, fur bristling, body pressed so tight to the wall it seemed ready to vanish inside it. Aaron twisted toward the noise, heart pounding. A raccoon scuttled out, glaring with glowing eyes before retreating into the shadows. Relief washed over him, followed by the sharp realization. Every second like this was a battle between trust and terror. He turned back, rain dripping from his lashes. "Hey," he whispered, voice rough but steady. "You're safe now." He knew the cat didn't understand the words, but maybe it could feel the tone. Slowly, he extended his hand again, not toward the food this time, but simply into the space between them. He held still, willing the animal to see that he wouldn't force it.
His own breathing slowed, syncing with the rhythm of the storm. The cat's pupils dilated, then narrowed. It shifted again, moving slightly closer, testing him. The ginger fur glistened in the rain, each hair clumped and trembling. Aaron could see its sides heaving, the ribs pushing sharply against its skin. He swallowed hard, the weight of responsibility pressing on him. If he failed now, this creature would vanish into the night, and he would never forgive himself. He inched forward, inch by inch, until he was close enough to feel the warmth of its tiny body radiating despite the chill. The cat tensed, ready to spring, but didn't. Its gaze locked on his, wild and uncertain, yet unwilling to turn away. In that fragile pause, Aaron felt something shift, the tiniest crack in its walls of fear. Then, a car horn blared at the end of the alley. Headlights swept in, painting everything in a harsh glare. The cat hissed, claws scraping against the metal stair, and Aaron lunged instinctively, hands cupped around its trembling body. For a split second, he expected claws, teeth, fury. Instead, the cat froze against his chest, its tiny heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird. And just like that, Aaron was no longer chasing. He was holding a life that didn't yet know if it wanted saving. Aaron clutched the cat to his chest as the headlights faded away down the alley, leaving only the pounding rain and the echo of his own heartbeat. The animal's body was rigid, every muscle taut with the instinct to escape. Its claws grazed against his jacket, not digging in, but testing the barrier between trust and flight. Aaron tightened his arms slightly, enough to offer warmth without making the cat feel trapped. His breath came out in white puffs as he whispered again, steady and low. I've got you now." The storm didn't let up. Water streamed down from the rooftops, turning the ground into a shallow river. Aaron rose carefully, boots slipping against the wet pavement.
The cat let out a sharp mewl, twisting, but didn't fight with full force. Its fur was soaked, sticking to its thin frame, and Aaron could feel each tremor of its body through the fabric of his coat. He scanned the dark street for any kind of shelter, something that wasn't just a hollow stairwell or a metal bus stop. Ahead, a flickering neon sign buzzed faintly through the rain, a closed laundromat with an awning wide enough to break the downpour. Aaron moved toward it, one cautious step at a time, his boots slapping against puddles. Each sound echoed through the deserted street, too loud, too sharp, as if the whole night were listening. The cat shifted again, pressing its head briefly against his chest before pulling away, a small gesture that left Aaron holding his breath. When he reached the awning, he sank down against the brick wall, cradling the cat more gently now. His jacket was soaked, and so was the small creature, but at least here the rain couldn't beat directly onto them. He peeled off one sleeve of his coat and wrapped it around the cat, tucking the fragile body inside the crook of his arm. For the first time, the trembling began to slow. He could feel the tiny vibrations of a half-formed purr, hesitant, broken, like a song that had forgotten its melody. The sound brought a lump to Aaron's throat. He tilted his head back against the wall, rain still dripping from his hair, and closed his eyes for just a moment. A memory rose unbidden. A dog he once had as a boy, a mutt named Jasper, who'd run off during a thunderstorm and never returned. The ache of that loss pressed against him. But now, holding this ginger scrap of life, he felt something different. A chance, perhaps, to not lose again. Just then, another sound pierced the storm, a deep, guttural growl from the shadows at the edge of the alley. Aaron's eyes snapped open. Under the dim streetlight, a stray dog emerged, ribs jutting, eyes hungry, fur matted with filth.
The dog's gaze locked onto him, then onto the bundle in his arms. The cat stiffened instantly, pressing deeper into Aaron's coat, letting out a sharp hiss. Aaron's pulse surged, his muscles tightening as instinct took over. He rose slowly, never breaking eye contact with the dog. "Not tonight," he muttered, his voice low but firm, as if words alone could form a shield. The dog took a step closer, paws splashing into the flood of rainwater, teeth glinting in the half-light. Aaron's body shifted sideways, putting his own frame between the predator and the fragile creature in his arms. His legs ached from the chase, his lungs still burned, but there was no room for weakness now. The dog barked once, sharp and commanding. The cat buried its head into Aaron's chest, trembling violently. Aaron's grip tightened, his other hand balling into a fist. Adrenaline surged through him as he scanned the ground for anything that could give him an edge. A broken length of wood floated by in the water, washed from the trash cans earlier. He reached down, grabbing it, and held it out with a steady arm. The storm raged around them, but the world had narrowed to this single moment: man, cat, and the looming shadow of hunger. The alley crackled with tension, every heartbeat a countdown. The dog's growl deepened. Aaron's chest heaved, rain dripping from his chin as he whispered to the cat without looking down, "I promised you, I'm not letting go." The stray dog lunged forward, splashing through the rising puddles, its growl breaking into a feral bark. Aaron stepped back fast, raising the broken piece of wood like a shield. The cat writhed in his arms, letting out a desperate yowl, its claws pricking through his damp coat. The air was electric, the rain hammering harder, every sound amplified by the echo of fear. For a heartbeat, Aaron felt the sharp edge of panic clawed his chest. Then his grip hardened. He wasn't running. Not this time. With a guttural shout, Aaron swung the wood against the pavement, the crack echoing like thunder. The dog froze mid-step, ears flicking back, startled by the noise. Its eyes narrowed, uncertain now, as Aaron squared his shoulders, making himself as large as the narrow alley allowed. "Go!" he roared, his voice cutting through the rain. He slammed the wood again, sending shards of wet splinters flying. The dog hesitated, growled once more, then turned sharply, disappearing into the shadows with a splash. The silence that followed felt unreal, broken only by the steady beat of the rain and the racing thud of Aaron's heart. His arm shook from the tension, the piece of wood slipping from his grasp. He sank against the brick wall, clutching the cat tighter, every nerve still alive with the remnants of fear. The little creature's body trembled in his hold, but its head lifted slowly, its whiskers brushing against his chin. For the first time, its eyes didn't burn with mistrust. They softened, uncertain but open. Aaron exhaled shakily, stroking a hand down the cat's sodden fur. The tiny body pressed closer instead of pulling away, and the fragile purr he had felt before returned, louder now, steady, like a drumbeat of fragile faith. He closed his eyes briefly, letting the sound anchor him in the storm. "It's just you and me now," he murmured, his voice cracked but sure. The words weren't meant as a promise, but they became one the moment they left his lips. The rain eased slightly, shifting from violent sheets to a steady drizzle. He pushed himself up, stiff and sore, cradling the cat beneath his jacket once more. The streets were nearly deserted, pools of water reflecting the faded neon glow. Every step he took was heavy, but lighter somehow than the steps that had led him into that alley. The cat's head peeked out from the fold of his coat, eyes half-lidded, ears twitching at each sound, but no longer fighting to be free. As he neared his truck, parked by the bus stop, Aaron hesitated. He glanced at the grocery bag still lying abandoned where he'd first seen the cat, the empty food tin rattling faintly in the wind. He bent down, picked it up, and tucked it under his arm. It felt important, a marker of where this night had begun, and a reminder of what could no longer be. The cat shifted against his chest as though sensing the change, giving a faint, weary mewl. Sliding into the truck, Aaron laid the coat across the seat, creating a small nest. The cat curled instinctively into the fabric, tail wrapping tightly around its thin frame. For the first time, it closed its eyes willingly, a single paw stretching forward to rest against his hand. That tiny gesture rooted Aaron to the moment more deeply than any battle ever had. He rested his other hand gently over the paw, sealing the silent pact between them. The engine hummed to life, headlights cutting through the wet darkness. Aaron stared at the road ahead, then down at the sleeping ginger form beside him. His chest swelled with something he hadn't felt in years, something fragile, raw, and alive. He whispered into the quiet cab, barely audible above the rain, "You're not alone anymore." The cat's purr deepened, vibrating against the seat, a final note that carried them both into the night.